Well, good evening.
Good evening, Terry.
Hello, world. Happy Tuesday, I think this is. I think last week, no, 2 weeks ago, y'all saw me. I had glasses that was leaning to the side. And here's the thing, I really don't even need them for the camera, so I'm gonna take these things off.
Hmm.
Um, Listen, we are here this evening, and we're super excited about the conversation. We have been, I guess, Kevin and I, our guest for this evening, and it's not even a guest. I think we are co-collaborators
Yeah.
on this series that we are bringing because we have been having ongoing conversations about where folks are. When I say folks, if you know, you know, right? And so we wanted to be able to not lose the opportunity to continue conversations regardless if people get tired of it, right?
Hmm.
Because here's what we've come to know. One, people are ready at different times. Two, life happens for people in different ways that uh, either propel them in one direction or another. And so our responsibility that we have assumed is we just gonna keep talking about the thing until our community as a whole are the percentage uh, of our community goes up significantly in terms of those who can really claim the fame of financial health, financial security, and financial wealth, right? We are excited tonight. Permisium and I, and Kevin will tell you a little bit about his company, um, are tag teaming over the summer months to help us not lose sight of financial good financial stewardship, management, etc., so that it's not just we don't find ourselves just in a position of making money but not being able to keep it. And so I'm excited for this summer partnership with you, Kevin. And for those who are new to the Terry Talks audience, this is the Terry Talks podcast show. Let's talk. And so today we're talking about from paycheck to prosperity, and just not in a sense of this lofty term without logistics or without the in between, but we're hoping that you will go on a journey, right? And so, even if you are doing extremely well financially, as long as there's life and as long as there are things to achieve in this life, finances are always going to be needed. And so, we want to perhaps, if you are in a place you want to be financially, to hopefully say something that will elevate your finances even further, right? The Bible says that money answers all things. So what that lets me know is that there are a lot of answers. There are a lot of questions out there that need to be answered, and oftentimes it is the financial resources that has the greatest and furthest impact.
Hmm.
And if you're in between, like, hey, I got over the hump, I'm doing pretty good, I'm, leveling out, cool. But if you aren't educating your children or grandchildren the way you would like, if you're not able to have the experiences that allow you to live and not just survive the times. So, and those experiences can run the gamut, right? But if you're not doing that, if every time somebody come to you and you like, or you hear a story and you like, dang, I wish I could help. If you are struggling to go on vacation, or you go on vacation but have buyer's remorse when you come back, this is the series for you, and anything in between, right? Because these are areas, this area of financial development that, again, I don't think you can ever arrive at any particular place, right? As you are living, um, you know, prices are going to increase. Your desires will increase. And so, therefore, you need to increase your finances. If you are someone, that is not in group, what was that, 2 and 3, but you're like, listen, I've had a lot of money come in and out of my hands and I can't account for it. And listen, I was there about 15, almost 18 years ago, praise God, where I was like, I'm making money. Where is the money going? Why is the money not multiplying?
I
And
was there 15 minutes ago.
um, that's awesome, right? So if you was there 15 years ago or 15 minutes ago, this is for you. This word that I subscribe to, it talks about anytime you can hear the word, see the word, or feel the word, you can be converted into that word or transformed into that word that you have seen, heard, or feel. So listen, we're hoping that you tap in tonight to this conversation, and if you're a feeler, let's get some of these feels. If you are a visualizer, let's start visualizing. If you are somebody who, hears and your ears aren't dull of hearing, um, tap in, lean in, and listen on this great conversation that we're going to have. That won't be just a bunch of fluff, right? Because ain't nobody got time for that, right? But there are going to be some really actionable items because here at Terry's Talk, our objective is to empower you, to encourage you, to educate you, and to equip you to execute on financial goals, because that's what this is. Everybody who know me, this is Terry Talk. We talk with real people, real challenges, real solutions, and real estate investing, right? Because again, we all need more money. We all can use more money. And or wherever you may land in between. So as always, I want you to go and share this out right now with all of your peeps, and those who are just trying to find an answer. Like, how do I turn the curve on, my financial security and stability? How do I become financially well? How do I, move the needle from paycheck to paycheck or deal to deal? How do I do that? And one of the places that Kevin and I are aligned, and there are many, is that there are some fundamentals that can never be lost or shouldn't be lost on anyone. And I am going to summons you early and challenge you early. Go back to the basics, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know when I go back to basic stuff, or just a review of the basics, it reminds me of some things that got me where I currently am, good, bad, or indifferent. But you can't heal a thing if you don't reveal a thing. So we want you to position yourself to be able to experience transformation over these 4 weeks. So we have a 4 week series. Next week is going to be a little bit different because Wednesday is my birthday. So we are doing a birthday edition on Tuesday. You don't want to miss that. I'll be giving away stuff. But as it relates to Kevin and I, we want to take you on a journey. Or, as my old bishop used to say, sometimes you don't need to be informed all the time. Sometimes you need to be reminded. So, this may be a reminder for a few folks out there. So, without anything else to say or do, now, I want you to type in the chat that you went and shared this with someone, because this is not just another money talk. It's not just another financial presentation. It's like, pull up a chair. It's 6 o'clock at night. Let's get the folks together and let's talk about some stuff so that we can, not just experience this level of financial freedom individually, but in our families, and then in our communities, and then culturally, because some things ain't going to change unless they change. Amen. A to
Talk
the men.
about it. Talk about it.
Okay, so go ahead, tell them that Terry and Kevin are on right now, and they got something to tell you about your finances that can help you make more money, more money, more money. And so, Kevin, tell our folks, just reintroduce yourself to our audience again. And then let's dive into our conversation. We've been having some really thoughtful and meaningful conversations over the past couple weeks.
I'm excited, Terry. I want to thank you always for giving me the platform to be able to have these conversations. And as you and I have talked offline, I love conversations. There are some people in the chat who I recognize. I love conversations. I don't like just to talk to people. I like to talk with people, and I like to hear from people. So you give me the platform to be able to have conversation with you is absolutely wonderful. I'm not going to come on here and make this about me. It's about the people. That For those who don't know me, my name is Kevin Lewis. I'm the owner of Promethean Inc., which is a family of financial services companies. And I help small businesses and individuals get access to capital. And that is done in many ways. So the name of the company is Promethean, Premisien. But again, this is not about Promethean. This is about you, the audience. I want to say this before we get into this conversation. This information does not constitute legal or financial advice. We are not financial advisors. I want to make that very clear because there can be some legal liability if we don't lay down those disclaimers. And Terry, I have to celebrate you. You are the queen of alliteration. You come up with these amazing. I think I heard you say educate, empower, in. I wasn't able to copy those down, but we talked last week, and you said impact, influence, and income. Your alliteration is second to none, and it's in the title of the podcast. And so I am. I guess I'm. If we're doing alliteration, I guess I'm cool, Kevin, on the Terry Talks podcast. And so Terry, we had a conversation. We said, what can we give the people? And I pitched some ideas, and one of the ideas I love this because I think contrarian views bring some great information. And I think where I wanted to start the conversation was a contrarian view, but I think it makes for great fodder. So we talked about, let's start the conversation in budgeting. And Terry, for those who weren't privileged enough to be part of our conversation because it was just you and I want you to tell them your view, your upstanding view about budgeting, and then I want to kind of get in here and go back and forth about why I pitched budgeting, and we can get to how people can use budgeting. But tell them what you said when I said the first topic I think we should talk about is budgeting.
Well, to be quite honest, I was like, bump them budgets. No, I ain't say that. I was like, yo, I think budgeting is really limited. I think that we should not be focusing on budgeting in the manner by which we have heard it over the years. I don't believe budgets work. And I'm going to say the reason why I don't think that they work. I'm not saying um, individually, but I am saying in a universal way. If we're trying, which is our objective, to move a community, a culture, there are some things that just don't aren't applicable to us because we're not starting at the same place.
Sure.
And especially in many areas. So we're not starting at the same place spiritually. We're not starting at the same place mentally. We're not starting at the same place emotionally. We're not starting at the same place socially or environmentally. We're not starting at the same place. I think I said financially as well, and even physically. And if you hear me, right, all of those in some cases, because everybody learns different, everybody is in different places and stages in their lives. If you aren't focused mentally, or if you have some mental health challenges. And let's be clear, mental health challenges could be, maybe you experience some really intense trauma, and you believe in God, you're trying to work your way out of it, but your breakthrough hasn't come through yet. Should you not be able to take what the benefits that's supposed to come from budgeting, should you not be able to take advantage of it because right now you are in, some kind of flux mentally or financially? You can't even wrap your mind, and I've been there, where there is so much noise and chatter mentally that I can't even wrap my mind around some of the practical steps that are supposed to come with budgeting. And so I can kind of, keep going down that road. But my point is that, one, I think is limited. Two, I don't think that it's a recipe as most people think that it is. And how do we know? Because it's been around for years. And I was another one. I had so many budget sheets year after year. I started the new year, saying X, Y, and Z. But what worked for me, and this is where I kind of live at, which is it's not going to work for me to stop my lattes and cut out, um, let's say I don't eat fast food like that anymore, but at the time, I may not have cut my burger, right? Why? Not necessarily because I didn't have the discipline, but life at that time did not give me an opportunity to meal prep, or, maybe I couldn't afford, which I couldn't. Now I eat primarily organic. There's a cost for that, right?
Yeah.
And so, if I get blanketed statements, or be blanketed with something that may be good, but may not be relative to me, then I'm going to be in this tailspin of why can't I do it? Why can't I do it? Right? Instead, I believe that instead of trying to work within what you have, because it's oftentimes, I think I mentioned this when we were talking, is if people are already robbing Peter to pay Paul, and there's no surplus, so they can't get ahead, then what? And maybe they are tapped at work where they can't get another job, right? The job doesn't allow promotion. Then, do they stay in the spin cycle? Or do we trying to work within the confines of how budgeting is traditionally scheduled? Or do we say, let's try to increase your income so that you can come up to inflation, you can come, you're prepared for recessions. We've heard this term, and I think sometimes, terms can be so loose because they're used sometimes irresponsibly, but you hear stuff like recession proof your life, your recession proof your finances. Well, that is a thing. That's not just a hook or a headline. That is actually a thing that you can do. And so, I just believe instead of us trying to get people to cut stuff out when sometimes it's not even realistic. Like, if I'm just going to say this and I'll pass the mic back to you, but say you have, the principle is reduce your expenses and you're supposed to increase your income, but sometimes it's just reduce your expenses. But say we work within this notion of just reducing your expenses, and say you have a high electric bill, but it's not due to irresponsibility. Maybe you have, unfortunately, a sick family member who has to have things plugged up longer, right? Then how are you really going to adhere to the reduce the expenses when what's given to you is not adaptable to that method? And so I just felt like bump them budgets,
Bump
right?
them budgets.
Let go ahead.
So first of all, y'all heard that flex. Terry's straight organic. She's going straight organic. So she bumped up her budget. So I am in 100% agreement. The, however, there are concepts that don't get talked about in our community, right? So when everyone hears the word budget, most people are hearing it as budget, but is that budget is actually the last name of budgeting. There is revenue budgeting and deficit budgeting. Most of you are understand what deficit budgeting simply means. Find all of your income, find all of your expenses, and then reduce your expenses so that you have more income. That's how you put more income in. You just reduce your expenses. That's called deficit budgeting. But when I talk about budgeting, I don't deficit budget. I'm not cutting things out of my budget. Listen, I I have I only have one vice, and that is sugar, but it's the most addictive substance on the planet. I'm not giving up cupcakes on the week. I don't actually eat cupcakes anymore. I've given up any kind of cakes. But sweet potato pie, I got Michelle. If you out there listening, Michelle makes the best sweet potato pie I've ever had, bar none. And I've been on this planet 55 years. It had a lot of sweet potato pie. So sometimes there's another person who sells me sweet potato pie. Long story short is I'm putting sweets in my budget. Whenever I go out on the weekends, I try now to only eat sweets on the weekends just so I can maintain some semblance of health. If I go out to eat, I try to go out to eat only on weekends. And if I go out to a restaurant, you can best believe a dessert is in the budget, right? But I'm a revenue budgeter. I'm saying I'm spending upwards of $150 to $200. This is going to sound crazy, weekly on eating out. I'm busy. I'm going to keep it 1,000. I'm not going to come in here and try to tell y'all that I'm doing $25 a week. That's not even realistic for me. I'm spending about $150 to $200 a week eating out. When I'm eating out, I'm eating dessert, which is why I'm spending $150 to $200. So I'm a revenue budgeter. I'm saying, okay, all of my expenses and my lifestyle, because it's not just about my expenses, not just about my Pico, it's not just about my PGW. It's about, I like sneakers. I am a sneaker fanatic, have always been, am always going to be. So I'm going to buy sneakers, and I'm not ashamed of this, guys. I'm spending $500, $600, sometimes $1,000 depending on the sneakers because I'm a collector as well. But I'm spending that money on sneakers. Terry, I don't want to stop that. So that goes in my budget. Now my job is, how can I go out and get the money to be able to afford those? That's called revenue budgeting. So deficit budgeting is cutting out your expenses. Revenue budgeting is increasing your income, which is what you talked about. But here's the deal. This is what I figured out. Here's an actionable item. So I collect all kinds of sneakers now. I used to only collect Jordans. I am a Michael Jordan fanatic. In fact, I still have the first pair of Jordans I ever bought in 1985. I still own them. They're a collector's item, and oh my God, I probably shouldn't have said that. Please, Sneaker Mafia, don't come get me. And Terry, please do not show my address on this live. But the point is, so I was sitting home and I'm saying, I'm spending these $250, $300, $500 on these Jordans. How can I keep these in my budget? I do not want to cut out Jordans, or I don't want to cut out something else so I can afford these Jordans. I said, you know what? People will pay for convenience. I can go buy a pair of Jordans for $250 and sell that same pair of Jordans for $350. So if I want to own that $250, I'll use that as an example. If I want to own that $250 pair of Jordans, instead of me paying for it, this is part of an OPM principle. I'm going to have someone else pay for it. So I'm going to buy that pair of Jordans for $250, go sell it for $350. I'm going to go buy it again, sell it for $350. I'm going to go buy it one more time, sell it for $350. I now have $300 net profit. The sneakers cost me $250. Someone else actually paid for me to wear those Jordans. Other people's money. That's revenue budgeting. So when I talk about budgeting, I don't talk about, hey, let's cut out the cable. Let's cut out that Adobe subscription that you have, that Netflix. Y'all need that Netflix. That Netflix ain't that going. Listen, I'm paying Hulu because Hulu, I get news on Hulu, but I also get some great shows that you can't get on Netflix and Prime. That Hulu bill is coming in at I'm a sports fan too. So that Hulu, Terry, that Hulu bill is coming in at $91 a month every month, right? I can't cut that Hulu bill, and I'm paying for Netflix, and I'm paying for Prime. So I'm saying, how can I get somebody else to pay those bills? And how I can do that is if I keep flipping sneakers, or you got some of you guys have spare cars out there, put those cars on Turo. Or some of you guys have a spare room in your house, put that room on Airbnb. Or some of you guys can sell electronics. There are things out there, and you've got to find out how you can use other people's money. There are many ways that you can go out here and make some extra money, and it's even better when it's passive income that you're using to fund your habits instead of active income. If you've got to go out and deliver DoorDash and you're on that moped, that e-bike, or you're in your car, that's active income, which is cool. If you can do that on the side, that's cool. The gig economy is live and well. It's even better though if you can go out, you can scrape up $5,000, go buy somebody an e-bike, say, I'm going to rent that e-bike to you for, maybe e-bike doesn't even cost that much. Let's say 2,000. You buy a $2,000 e-bike, you rent that e-bike out for $50 a day, and now you guys can do the math, right? That's 40 days. In 40 days, you will have paid for that e-bike. On the 41st day that you rent it out, you've now made money, and somebody's on that e-bike doing DoorDash, paying you daily or weekly, however you want to rent it out. They're paying you, and you're making passive income. That is revenue budgeting. There are so many creative ways to increase your income, which is called revenue budgeting. But some of us just haven't had the opportunity for someone to show us how to do it. And there are,
Well, wait a minute.
go
I
for it.
gotta stop you there because not on this channel, right? And
Oh,
not in this community, and not because I'm so great. It's just the way that the Lord has wired me. But I'm listening, and we give out referral links, and we tell people if you are scrolling, why scroll for free? Not only are you using other people's, now you can use other people's money, you can use other people's intelligence, you can use other people's services. Usually we only hear OPM, but there is OPT, it's OPE, other people's education. There is a ton of ways that you can gain additional income, and even packed into things you're already doing, right? And so, but this rings true. It doesn't, the word, and I'm a believer, so y'all, that's what y'all hear from me. But the word don't work unless you work it. You can't say, well, I want my money back because the word ain't working. Did you work it? How are you working the tools that have been placed in your hands? I heard Kevin talks about my sayings, but I heard something like, a hammer is no good unless you swing it, right? What good is a hammer if you're not swinging it? And so, I agree. There are a ton of ways, and we have different challenges. How to 30K in 30 days, how to increase your income in many different ways. And again, wrapped up in things we're already doing. But I heard my coach say to me one time, she said, Terry, how big is your want to? And she asked me that back in 2006. And I'm saying that to our crowd. How big is your want to? And I agree, right? You know, I'm not getting rid of my ones, but I have stock in Nike, right? I love what Kevin said, and that's just wholesaling, y'all. So y'all know I wholesale real estate. You can wholesale cakes, you can wholesale sneakers, you can wholesale. there's a ton of things that you can wholesale, because oftentimes, like, you might be like, well, who would want to get that, at that rate from Kevin? Well, these sneakers are at a premium, and you can only get them on certain sites at certain times, and sometimes you got to bid on them, right? And so, there are people, and unfortunately people who really don't have it, who spin a grip for those things. So I want to say big ups to you for, that's a market that you can tap into. So I love it. I love it. Is, certain, a lot of things that are available to us. And I'm going to say this, especially if, and I know we'll transition to this, if you're in a place of, trying to increase your income, scared money don't make money, right? And, or you have to understand, it's either going to be your sweat equity and time, or it's going to be the money. But you can't play in both sandboxes, or unless you can, right? But oftentimes people don't have the financial resources, so that means it doesn't eliminate you, right?
Right.
But it's what you choose. How big is your want to, and how dedicated are you to seeing yourself really live in financial stability, security, and wellness? And even with everything that is happening on the political and economic landscape, and I talk about it because I believe an empowered and educated person, not just somebody who's taking in more information, because y'all know what I say. You get points for coming to hear the information. You get some points for, coming and educating yourself. But you get manifestation from execution, from the action that you take. And so, I talk about these things because not so we can traffic in fear, but so that you can be educated, so that you can be empowered, and not just for you. Like right now, I asked y'all to go share this. How many people actually went and shared this? You texting people all day about, the what's running on Netflix. So I'm making this up. This not everybody, but you texting people about different things, right? Here is something that can really change the financial trajectory of folks' life just by hearing them, hearing it. People will tap in, and you may be like, oh, they ain't listening. You be surprised what people are listening to at the time that they're listening to it, right? And so, we on social media, and we'll make a lot of stuff go viral. I saw a video today, and then Kevin, you can take the mic from me, because this is my passion, so I can talk about this all day long. And quite honestly, it's the Terry Talk Show, so I can really
Sure,
talk
sure.
all day. No, but no, I know I am nothing and nobody without God, and He gives people like you to help, edify my life and amplify me in this area. So yeah, I'm glad you're here. I can't do it on my own. But someone sent me a video, and it was of um, two people, and the one guy was just on a bike, and he's just laughing. The other guy's like on the floor, hilariously laughing at the guy who's on the stationary bike. And it's some theatrics with it. It was over 100,000 views, or people engaged with it. There was over 6.5 shares of it. There was over, I think, if I recall, there were about 9,000 comments. So that took time, that took effort. Like, somebody is sharing that out, right? To allow it to go viral. And listen, that's a part of life, right? You need comic relief. But what about what happens after the comic relief is over, and you're like, dang, I wish we could do this, or I need to be doing this, or I gotta, I gotta review or take another look at how I'm handling my finances over here, right? And when do you actually do it, right? These are the times to do it. And I tell my clients all the time, you know, there's a saying about the six people you spend the most time with, that is indicative of what your life is like, up
Mm,
or down, right? Rather in your faith, your finances, your family, your friendships, right? If the six people that you spend the most time with is healthy in all of those areas, then chances are you will be. And so I had people say, well, there's not a lot of people in my family who want to go on this financial journey. They don't want to, be better. They don't want to live in different places. They don't want to visit other countries. They don't want to make sure that, their children don't have to start from ground zero. They want their children to get in educational debt, which I don't even understand that, but no judgment, but I would submit that that is rooted in something different else, right? Um, and so I tell them, well, you have an opportunity to change the dynamic of your circle, right? The circle, the circle doesn't continue to grow if it takes people to keep that circle going, right? So if we're, the only way that circle morphs into bigger of or more than the same in this case is because that's all y'all talking about. But if you bring a new conversation, they're either going to do one or two things. They're going to opt out or in. So now you get an opportunity to change your landscape. And whereas maybe the medium income of the people around you, I'm just making this up, was 50,000, but now you're introducing things where people can yield 100,000, or they can have connections and relationships and network in a way that help them increase their income, and now they catch fire. Now somebody else, now you done changed the direction of that small community, right? So
Yeah, Terry, I think the one place where we have a great opportunity, we meaning our community, have a great opportunity is joint venturing, right? Taking advantage of someone else's something. And you put it plainly. You said other people's money or other people's OPT, other people's time, or OPE, other people's education. I'm listening to you, Terry. This is not just Terry Talks. This is also Kevin Listens. This is the Kevin Listens show. So, yeah. So, joint venturing is one of those places, and so I operate in the credit space very often. And I am talking to people and saying, one of the things that you can do, we had a brunch or a breakfast uh, thing a little while ago, and I talked about passing credit on as legacy, but you can also pass credit on as a joint venture, right? Terry, you've got somebody who wants to get into the real estate space, has cash, doesn't have a great credit score, right? So has a down payment to put on a $500,000 project, but doesn't have the credit score that can get him the loan, right? Maybe they have 100,000, but they need, which is 20%, right? That's yeah, that's 20%. So they've got 100,000. Carry one, yes, 20%. So they've got 100,000 of it. They need 400,000, but they don't have the credit score that can get them the loan. You have the credit score, but you don't have the $100,000. Let's put this deal together. Let's make a company. We're going to go put this deal together. I'm going to put my credit up. You're going to put your cash up. We're going to go get this building, and then we're going to benefit. And maybe that person is a contractor. Maybe that person knows how to get the project from start to finish up and running in 5-6 months, where it's yielding. Maybe you're making, when the deal is all said and done, maybe you're making $2,000 a month in net profit off of that deal. All you had to do was lend your great credit. In our community, we tend sometimes, not this community, not the Terry Talks community, the community at large, we tend to keep ourselves in silos, and we tend to say, listen, we worked hard to get here, because it does take work to get up there so you can get that $500,000, $400,000 loan. So we tend to say, I've got it. I'm not going to lose it. And I'm not going to surrender it to someone else. And some of us even gatekeep. We won't even tell you how we got here, right? We worked so hard. But here's the thing. You can't take your cash with you, nor your credit score, right? It should be a living benefit. If it's a living benefit for you, you can make it a living benefit for somebody else. And by the way, it doesn't matter whether it's a family member or a perfect stranger. In fact, a perfect stranger might even be someone easier to work with, because a perfect stranger is going to go into you with a contract, right? And not they're not going to, but oftentimes they're not going to try to take advantage of their position in your life, their relation in your life. So listen, all of y'all in the Terri Talks universe, you guys have above 800 credit scores. Man, stop holding on to that credit. Get up off that credit score. Stop playing. I got a bunch of people out here who've got properties that they're trying to save, but don't have the credit score to help them. I got people out here who have opportunities that are here in the city of Philadelphia. I got people out in Detroit who've got opportunities. They are looking for somebody who can lend their credit to a project. You can make some money. That's revenue budget, right? Let me put some OP in my pocket. I need that OP. I need to be an OPP, other people's pockets. Oh, Terri, now I lost.
No, we here.
Okay.
Okay. So listen, get a people a challenge, because what we're going to do over this series, again, we want you to take action, right? It's again, there's so much going on, and on the political landscape. There are bills that are being currently written to really ISO out people. Job availability is not going to be, I mean, it's already, the expectancy of it is already shaky, but a lot of that is going to change significantly and is changing. Um, but we have opportunities, because, you know, I quite frankly believe we are the most resourceful and resilient people on the planet right now. I think sometimes we get stuck at hustle and not really, formalizing business and having business structures and putting ourselves in a position to leverage things, right? So, what does that look like when Kevin is saying do a joint venture? When you hustling, it's a handshake or it's a verbal, right? But when you're doing business, it is what's in writing. What did we agree to? There, what are the terms and the conditions, right? And it's aligned more strategically, to ensure that, other things happen. Be it asset protection, be it, protection if you need to go before somebody because somebody selectively or conveniently forgot, or it could have, a positive effect, which is you could get a return based on those terms because you help somebody, and now you become the go-to, and now you get more people coming to you just off something that, you may not or may not even be using anyway, right? And so, I want you to give the people, I would like for you to give the people a challenge, give them an assignment, based on what we just talked about. What is, uh, three actionable things that they can do?
I got you. I got you. Actionable item number one. I want you to find something that you are passionate about and start to rethink how you can make money off of that. Again, I'm passionate about sneakers. I'm also passionate about roller skating. There's a way that I can turn roller skating into money too. Sometimes I teach roller skating classes. So find one thing that you're passionate about and start to write down. Don't even start to think. Write down creative ways that you can turn that into some capital, some money. Action item number one. Action item number two, find someone who can be a referral partner, somebody who will pay you to send them clients. I'm going to tell you right now, I pay everybody $50 if they send a client that signs up with me. I'm saying that right here, right now. You send me a client, tell them to mention your name, say this person sent me. If they sign up with the services, I will send you a check for $50. I mean, we're not doing checks. We're in 2025. So obviously, it's going to be some digital form, right?
And on that vein, don't forget your third thing, because we want to make sure we put them out there. You guys know, we have 30% returns on educational stuff. We gave the whole collective, all right, even on our high ticketed items. If, somebody gets into a program, you can make almost $3,000 just referring, because we don't just talk about it. Like we're not just giving you these lofty ideas and not position you to tap into them. Now, Kevin is correct. You might yield a little bit more results when it's something you're passionate about. However, find what's in your house already to work it, get your capital up, right? Because you ain't have to go nowhere and work it. Our community has access to us in a different way. If you want to be inside the community, we have information about that later. But even if you don't, right? Like get in a community that will allow you to do that, and there are a ton of them. Okay, go ahead, Kevin.
So we said find something you're passionate about and start to rethink. Write down how you can rethink how to make some money from it. Find a referral partner. Now, here's the deal: you sitting in front of two of them, or standing, or however. You're in front of two of them right now. You don't have to go any further, and this entire audience can just use both of us as referral partners. That is not a shameless plug. That is a serious plug. We will pay. You don't have to do any work other than pass our information along, and we'll make sure you have the information to pass along if you don't already have it before we get off of this conversation. So find a way to make money out of your passion. Find a referral partner that will pay you money for sending them people, and then start sending them those people that way. And write down someone who you think you can joint venture with. Now, that may take you a little bit of time, but if it's real estate that you're into, find a way that you can joint venture. Do I have money? And can I find somebody who's looking for capital? Do I have credit? Do I need somebody who needs lending? Do I have a real estate project that I need improvement and somebody can take advantage? Find a joint venture, or it doesn't have, whatever it's in, whatever it could be in a different type of business, but find somebody that you can joint venture with and just start having the conversation. Doesn't have to lead to a contract, and it doesn't have to lead to a partnership, because all people are not good for all people. But start to vet these things. The reason I'm asking you to do all three of this, and Terry, I just want to tell people why I chose those three things. I want you to turn your passion or your hobbies into some money, because I want our community to start rethinking consumption, changing it to production. That makes you a producer, right? I was a consumer. I was a consumer of the Jordan brand. I'm now a producer of the Jordan brand. All right. So find that. That helps train your mind to become a producer. I want you to find a referral partner, because I want you to start to take advantage of other people's efforts, right? OPE, other people's efforts, right? So Terri's going to do the work. She's going to do the work with the client. All you need to do is send the client her way. She's going to even close them. You don't need to close them. You just need to send them Terri's way. So you're taking advantage of other people's efforts. And by the way, it gets you used to passive income. And by the way, once you start making passive income, it's all you'll ever want to do. You will get addicted to it, because you're saying, hold on, it's 12:30. It's 12:30 a.m. midnight, because Terri be up late. She be up late, y'all. She's up late. Terri's up late. I got a check from Terri at 12:30. I was asleep. I was knocked out. Or the TV rocked me to sleep. I was knocked out, and Terri sent me a check. I like that. You know what? I was on the beach when Terri sent me that check. I like that. Kevin sent me $50. And listen, $50 is not going to change your lives dramatically. But if you have enough $50, right? You have $150, y'all can do the math. So, and that's only 100 people, right? So that OPM, that other people's efforts and the other people's money, yeah. I want to get you guys accustomed to making passive income, because passive income is where the money really is powerful. And the third thing I want you to do is, they say Black people can't work together. You know what? They say our community.
You can no listen. We talking.
Let's
This
do it.
is
Let's
real
do it.
talk.
Let's have real
Let's
talk.
let's go. Like
They
you
say
scared? Like what?
black people can't work together. But that's not true. We built the world. What are you talking about? We can't work together. America is not America without black people working together, right? We might have done it under duress, but the fact is we did it. But when we weren't under duress, what did we build? Everybody talks about Tulsa, Oklahoma. There were many Black Wall Streets. Tulsa, Oklahoma wasn't even the first Black Wall. Everybody who hears me. I run this into the ground. Richmond, Jackson Ward, Richmond, Virginia was the first Black Wall Street in the country. There were many. There was Haight, North Carolina. There was Durham, North Carolina. There were many Tulsa Black Wall Streets. Tulsa, Oklahoma was just the most notable. So I'm saying we know we can work together because when all we had available to us was working together, we worked together. So we can get back to that. By the way, we are communal people by nature. So that third joint venture thing is an exercise in getting you back to communalism. I want you guys to go back and find somebody that you can joint venture with, and then we can start to put contracts in place that'll help protect you. By the way, guys, by the way, again, there we go. Greenwood, Parish Street, and Durham. You got it. Let's talk. So, by the way, guys, if you have a friend and you want to do a joint venture, put a contract in place first. It will preserve your friendship. I have a friend. I consider him my best friend. Now, I'm a 1970s traditional black hyper masculine man. I'm not proud of that. I'm saying that humbly, and I'm working to change that. But we have not been trained to call men our best friends. But if we talk like that, I would call this gentleman my best friend. But he and I have a joint venture. We've been doing business together for over 15 years, and every single time we do a project, we always put a contract in place first. It's what preserves our friendship. It is what, if we disagree, it is what we use to fall back on. Hey, I'm not going to mention his name because I don't know if he wants me to. Hey, listen, you my bro. This is what we said was going to. This is what we said we were going to do with the money, or this is what we said we were going to do with this real estate project. You put it in writing. I put it in writing. Now we don't have to argue. The document has the conversation for us. We can preserve our friendship, but nothing destroys relationships like the misuse and misrepresentation of money. So
Eh,
go
Go
for
ahead.
it.
No, and I was just going to say, we trust, but we verify too,
Trust
right?
me.
And so this is where you move from hustle to really scheduling and structuring and building out things and with business, being business minded. Many of us here are believers, and we say kingdom, 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 kingdom. The kingdom does not work on hustle. It does not work. A regular kingdom is not running by a hustle and a grind. It is structured. There are roles and responsibilities. There are consequences for things you do and don't do. There are cultural norms, right? And one of them norms is that everybody thriving and winning, right? In more than one way. And so it's important that we tap into some of these principles, these business principles that can help you, and a part of that is you vet it, right? You get proof of concept from people. You explore a little bit, and it saves you in the end. But there is, I think the point is, if you're going to elevate your finances, right? If you're going to move from paycheck to prosperity, there are some things that you can do. And we're hitting some fundamental foundational stuff because, like we said at the onset, sometimes you just need to go back to the basics. I had someone mention, um, uh, he mentioned Hosea 4:6. And for you who are familiar, and I don't know if he meant it in this context, but the people perish from a lack of knowledge, right? Or when you reject knowledge. And so, if you want to advance your life in this area, and not just yours, because some people are, like doubting Thomases, they need to see it first. They like the show me state, right? And I was having a conversation in my quiet time this morning, like, God, I want to represent what I preach, because unfortunately, we're living in a world where people see first and then they opt in. They don't always operate by faith to then bring what they want to see to come into their space, right? And so sometimes they just need to see it. And so, you know, we are a testament to some things that can help also, as we talked about earlier. People learn different, people tap in differently. And, when they can see it, oftentimes they can believe it. So that was a good one. I'm getting through the comments. Do you want to hit the next thing that we wanted to cover today as we start to come in for landing?
Yep,
Miss,
I want.
I want to share what Miss Sandy she said. I'm sorry, Kevin, I didn't mean to cut you off. She said, "Yes, I have partners who are my friends. Contracts keep us as friends.
Mhm.
We can disagree in business and keep our friendship." Absolutely, because you know what's the guiding factor? It's that piece of paper. It's not feelings. It's not, I've done it where I can battle it out, for lack of better words, with one of my partners. Like, I didn't like something that she did. We get back to what did we say we were going to
What
do.
did we say?
We hash it out through that, and then it's like, all right, let's go get something to eat. Right? Because at the end of the day, the main thing is the main thing at that moment. Right? Go ahead, Kevin, you want to
Yeah,
jump in?
no, that's it. That's it. So before we go to that next piece, I just want to say, for those of you struggling to write down ways to turn your hobby or passion into revenue, you guys are all out there using Chat GPT or some form of AI query. If you go into Chat GPT, say, I like making biscuits. Go into Chat GPT and say, Chat GPT, give me a plan including dates, including resources, including platforms for turning my biscuit making hobby passion into income, and do it so it's passive income. ChatGPT will give you a whole plan. You don't even have to write it down yourself. You can have ChatGPT write that. Use that tool. It's not cheating. It's not cheating. It's a tool. Use it. All right. Cool.
That
Cool.
was that was good. That was good. And then again, I can't let off of this because we're here. So the other people with the other stuff, they ain't here right now. You and I here. Use Kevin and I, right? Figure out how to develop campaigns. We all know someone who can, who needs to increase their credit score. Maybe is a car, a job, or something that they need to get into, and they need a better credit score. Or you can run the play. If everybody get their credit score up, now we're maybe, we get with Kevin, we're moving over to getting some working capital. Now there's some other requirements that come with that, so don't nail me to a cross about it. Everybody is different, and Kevin's may require some stuff, but that's his lane, is not mine. I know a little bit about it, and I'm going to stay on the other side. But what I'm getting to, we get the working capital, right? Now we go and collectively go buy something. And y'all know what I'm going to say, real estate. Right? Because it is the gift that just keeps on giving. In any climate, it people always need housing. Like, and people are always looking to get more housing. Right? And so it is a gift that keeps on giving. But just to show you, so that you don't think these are grandiose ideas or something that's so far from outside of you, you have two people that can work. You can say, all right, I'm gonna get money from Kevin based on his service and products. Then I'm gonna bump them over to Terry, so then we could get assets, additional assets, or in my case, real estate, make money off of that more than one way. And y'all know I got like a 6-day payday just off of one scenario, but you got to show up in the class in the fall. But anyhow, you see how just that's easy, right? And many of you know us, you see us, and that's another thing. You want somebody that's accessible just in case they have a bad day. I tell my clients, listen, like I got one who swears by me, and I said, listen, some days I feel like a nut, sometimes I don't, right? And we don't know if it's gonna be the day I feel like a nut, and I do not want to kill your dream, right? I'm always try to over deliver, but let's keep me at here, right? God don't do it, none of us ain't doing it. But the point is, you have people in front of you who are living it and can do it as well. So I just wanted to say that.
So, Terri, we do we want to talk about paying yourself first? Is that where we want to go with this thing? Do we want to talk about that? Or they got that already. They got that already. They know that.
No, I think sometimes you need to be reminded, because sometimes you hear something and it does not resonate. Like I would venture to say people are listening to us right now and doing 25 things. So it may be new. This may be new information for somebody. And so if we're taking you on a course, we're saying, let just to recap, and then we'll kind of hit it and quit it, and then see us next week. And we'll build a little bit further. Like we're building here. Y'all know that I'm in construction, and oftentimes the reason why properties end up not lasting, or you've seen them, they've collapsed, is because the foundation has not been laid properly, and some of the structural work has been compromised, right? And so we're trying to lay a foundation, right? And so we're saying, okay, if you recognize the term budgeting, understand there are many ways to budget, and it doesn't always include getting rid of your lattes, getting rid of your subscriptions, right? Because we've already talked about it. Some of them are needful now, some of them is wasteful spending, and that's another conversation for another day. But even if you got rid of it, there's still some other challenges. So that is not the end all be all answer to it. We're suggesting increase your income, revenue, budgeting, right? And so we gave you some options today. And, I'm sure if you want to sit with either one of us, maybe on our second week, I'll talk to Kevin and we can see if we can get a few slots here or there that we can make available, that if you need somebody to strategize with, that you'll have that resource available to you. But we talked about increasing your revenue. Now when it comes in, what happens?
Hmm.
Now, Kevin, I'm gonna share what I practice, the
I
model that
like
I
that.
practice and I share, which is the profit first model. And what they've done over the years is, I mean, he did profit sharing, which is he started training other people to use his IP, and then they evolved it out a little bit. So profit first for contractors, profit first for real estate investors, profit first for bankers, profit first, right? Because it's still the principle, is still the principle. You can work it in many ways, but it's still the principle. And so what it looks like is you take a profit first. Usually in a regular accounting system is income, minus the expenses, and then you have, but this is saying, and we'll talk at a later date about, or another episode, about how that can get away from you. But you take out a profit. Here's how mine's look. I do 10% profit. I do 10% savings. I do 10% ties. I take 10%, 5 to 10% sometimes on taxes, and then I leave 30% for expenses, and then the rest I do owner income. So I've pretty much taken some I've taken income from two different places, right? And what it does is every time a new pot of money come in, now I'm allocating it. And so what happens is, if it's a year, let's use the tax bucket. Every time I make some new money, or one of the businesses make new money, because all of this is done through my businesses. I'm putting it in a tax bucket now. That it may be over what I need to pay in taxes depend on what I did that year. But what won't happen is that, I make it in a year and now I got to give it all back in one lump sum and try to figure out where I'm going to get it from. Now, if I'm all jacked up with that system, I can't make a play in that year that requires taxes. And then it's just this. So protects you. It protects you, 30% is usually that guide where, and Kevin, this is his area where, you want your debt to income ratio or your expenses to be, that I think is 30%. Kevin is a little bit more conservative, which I love because it gives you some wiggle room. Well, in my opinion, it gives you the wiggle room, but it keeps you under all the time because here's the thing. There's what I found in life. There's no absolute, right? Things are always happening, but I would rather that to be the exception than the actual rule, right? If I want to live, be, and thrive and not live in a cycle of stress, strain, struggle, and survival. And so that's how it works for me. Kevin?
Then this is going to sound like parroting. I'm going to say the exact same thing. Maybe the percentages can change. The point is, come up with a number, whatever works for you. The first piece of money goes in your pocket. The next piece of money goes into savings because you are going to have an emergency. Let me back up. So you put the first piece in your pocket. The reason you put the first piece in your pocket is because if you put the last piece in your pocket and there is no last piece, then you will get demotivated quickly. I don't care what you're doing. I don't care if it's your passion. You love it, right? I love roller skating. Or let's say I love, so the business I'm in is access to capital. I love this access to capital. I love this. I can do this. I love doing this. But here's the deal. If I'm not putting profit in my pocket, because I like to go out and eat. I like to go out and hang out with my friends. I like to go roller skating. So if I'm not putting money in my pocket first, I'm not going to have the money last, and I'm not going to be able to do these things, and it will make my business worthless. So I'm going to put the first piece of money in my pocket. Now I do quarters because it's just easy for me to calculate, and I adjust as life happens. But 25% is going into my pocket. The next 25% is going into savings. You will have an emergency in your business and in your personal life. That is inevitable. So I'm putting that 25% away so that when that emergency happens, I can pull it out of the savings, pay for it, we're good to go. The next 25% goes to investments. So I'm investing, whether I'm investing back into my business or investing in another business that's going to generate passive income. And the last 25% is what I'm using to pay my expenses, both business and personal. I live through my business, so there is no personal for me. I live as my business. And we'll talk about that at a later date. But the point is, I break them up. The percentages can change, the numbers can change, but I break those up so that the expenses come out last. And the reason the expenses come out last is because there's a psychological component to this as well. You will always psychologically work to pay your bills. So if you come up short, if you flipped it, paid expenses first and profit last, like the accounting equation works, then what happens is if there's nothing left after you paid your expenses, then you will just neglect yourself. But if you flip that upside down and there's nothing left, or there's very little, or there's not enough to cover your expenses, you will go out because Pico needs their money. Terri, you are going to find, Sandra, you are going to find a way to get Pico paid, which means you're going to go out and turn your hobby into revenue generating, or you're going to use other people's money, or you're going to say, you know what, let me send Terri some extra clients. Let me send Kevin some extra clients because that's some extra money I can put to pay this Pico bill. So self first, savings next, investments. And by the way, that savings piece goes taxes. That's where Terri has taxes. So I break up that savings into taxes, by the way. And then investments And then my last piece is expenses. All right. Pay yourself first. Pay yourself. Put that money in your pocket. I promise you. I promise you. You do that, there will be no lack. You will have those bills paid. I promise you. It's real.
Yeah, no, it is real, and it takes away, because we talk over here about health and wealth in every area of our lives, whether it's our faith, our focus, our finances, our fun, our fitness, our families, and our friendships, right? And in order to be able to have an enjoyable life and thrive through it, you want to do things that allow you to do that. And oftentimes when you got a budget, you like depressed, right? That does not add to a healthy mind or a
Right.
healthy focus. If if you don't take profit first, and you just feel like all I do is work, 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 and I'm not seeing anything. So it's a way to kind of trick the mind, not trick, it's a way to elevate the mind and the spirit and the soul so that you can get into alignment, I believe, with more abundance. But if you don't do things that lend to that, right, then you'll feel like, I'm doing all of this, but I can't get ahead, or excuse me,
Pressure.
nothing is working. Thank you. um, and so we want to position you to do it and keep on doing it. And then it also helps discipline, because the truth of the matter is you taking money, but you taking it at the wrong time and neglecting stuff. And then you try and catch up. And now it's like, yeah, no, like just get your psyche ready, get yourself mentally. And again, as Kevin said, I can't second that, high five that, or ditto enough. When you change the dynamics, it changes, things changes. And we are having these conversations for the remainder of the summer, because we really want to see transformation in our financial lives, right? We really want to be able to see transformation in not just our lives, but the lives of the people around us. Financial transformation, which is what this space is about. And not just our lives, but our family lives. And the Bible says that a good man and woman leaves an inheritance to their children's children.
Mm.
But nothing just happens. And so we're trying to position you, before you know it, it's happening, right? I'm reminded about, just the widow woman. And, when she got into debt, and this is where I first learned how to get out of debt. And I use this same story and the same principles or actions that she used. Her husband had left her and her son in debt. And what ended up happening, this is the story of the widow woman. She, in those days, if you had debt owed, you had to work it off until you either died, or you just had to work until it was paid off, right? And so the one widow woman asked, he said, you know, she came to the widow woman went to the prophet and said, here's what's going to happen. And he asked her, and I'm shortening the version, I'm shortening the version of it, but he said to her, "What do you have in your house?" And this is right in line with what we've been talking about tonight. And she said, "All I have is a jar of oil." And he said, "Well, go get it. You and your sons go borrow jars, go fill those jars, go exchange those jars." And then what the Bible says, she was able to pay off her creditors, and they were able to live off the rest. I mean, that's so chunky, that's so meaty. It's such a prescription for, I mean, you got credit, the use of borrowing. I'm going to somebody else and I'm borrowing. She went to, and he instructed her to go to her neighbors. I'm getting a JV partner. Let me go to somebody I know, right? Um, and then, it was like, okay, now get your sons involved, get your family involved, right? And then they were selling. The Bible says that as long as she kept pouring the oil, the jars kept filling up. which meant she had more to sell. I believe she just was like, enough is enough. I'm done, because maybe the oil had ran out, and that could be symbolic. That could be, anointing oil. It could be physical oil. I mean, there's just so much here. But the point is, he like, well, what you want me to do? What's in your house? So nobody was coming to rescue her. Like, he gave her prescription for her to not just rescue herself in the moment, because oftentimes we want self and temporary gratification, self gratification, that we forget that there are long term plays out here, and we've been talking about them, that can not just have you good today, but tomorrow and for generations to come. And that's just what she implemented. She implemented a plan that would not only get the creditors off her back, she saved her sons, and then they were able to live off the rest.
Wow.
And so we're saying, we're not going to just give you a fish. We want you to be fishermen so you can have more and more and more and more, because you're going to need it. Right. And so that was good to me. That was a reminder to me. And anytime that I find myself in a place of, all right, I want to do this, or my business needs to go to another level, I'm not looking outside. I'm first saying, what is in my house? Maybe it's another class I need to create. I mean, I already got the skill set, right? So you guys see it. It is a lot for the taking. And so, Kevin, I'm going to give you a final word, but I also would like for you to we're going to do we're going to have some fun, y'all. Y'all know I like to do this. This is the segment I like most. It is 30 questions under 60 seconds. And so
Whew.
I am going to ask Kevin a bunch of questions, and I'm going to see if he can answer, right? If he can answer them under 60 seconds. And I wanted to do this. I started doing it because, again, our job, on these talks is not just to do another thing. We want to be impactful. We want to be influential, and we want to help you generate more income, right? And sometimes when you hear something else, somebody else's answer, it may reignite something that you always wanted to do, but that you put down, because all life was life, and as they're saying, and the math wasn't math, and I just made that up. But and so you hear some other things, and it's like, okay, it may stir you up in another way, because we really are interested in you living, being, and thriving, and just not basically surviving life and surviving the day. No, we want you to dominate the day. So on that note, Kevin, I would like for you to give a final word to our audience before I give you your 30 questions under 60 seconds.
I gave you a charge. There were three things. Go do those three things. They say knowledge is power. That's not the truth. The application of knowledge is power. You guys have you have the knowledge. Now go apply it. So that's all I ask, and I'm done with that. This was a great sermon. This is great. That you brought that scripture together, right? Very timely. All right, let's go with these 60, these 30 questions. 30 questions, 60 seconds. I got to get comfortable. Yeah, I had to shift a little bit. Let me get comfy. You're on mute. You're on mute, Terry.
Oh, okay. Let's see if Kevin is going to be the dude that do it this week, because everybody else been like, oh, they ain't nothing. I got it. They be,
Let's
puffing
see what we got.
themselves up like this ain't about a whole lot of nothing, and then they don't make it. So, Kevin, I think you might be our person for the night.
Let me put my glasses on so I can hear the questions.
Don't forget, we will be back in next week and the week after that. We really want this summer to be different than every other summer you had financially. That's my final word.
I love
Okay. All right, ready?
it. Yep.
Set. All right, timer go. Coffee or tea?
T.
Early bird or night owl?
Early.
Heels or sneakers?
Sneakers.
What's your favorite guilty pleasure? Snack.
Snacks.
Favorite vacation spot?
Antigua.
Do you prefer beaches or mountains?
Mountains.
Last show you binge watched?
Blind spot.
Favorite song on repeat right now?
Favorite song on repeat. Oh, that I'm stuck. What am I stuck on? Oh, Stevie Wonder. You. That's what I've been playing.
Oh, I love that. Okay, who is your role model?
Michael Jordan, but not for the reason you think.
Okay, if you weren't in your current career, what would you be doing?
Roller skating.
What's your morning routine must have?
My morning routine must have bottled water.
Best advice you've ever received?
Don't sweat the small stuff, and everything is small stuff.
All right, your time is up. So you didn't make it, but we're gonna keep on going. Worst advice you ignored.
Worst advice. Worst advice. Worst advice. Oh, don't listen to your gut. Mm.
One word that describes you.
Joyful.
Biggest pet peeve.
Oh, biggest pet peeve. Biggest. What is my biggest pet peeve? Oh, post. The word post to. Whew.
The word postal.
Post to. He supposed to go. We supposed to go to the store.
Oh, instead of
Oh my
supposed
god.
to.
Post to. Yeah.
Okay. Favorite book.
Oh, Michael Crichton's Pray.
Favorite app. Oh, I like that. Favorite app on your phone.
Favorite app on my checkbook app.
Dream car.
BMW 530i.
What thing you can't leave home? One thing you can't leave home without.
BMW 530i.
I know that's right. Your go-to stress reliever.
BMW 5. No, roller skating.
So wait, your dream car, you have it. Come through. So y'all, this is a testament that dreams are just not, things that you get in the by and by or you hope you could get it. They become actual realizations. Okay. First business lesson you learned the hard way.
Don't having contracts.
One word that defines leadership for you.
Perseverance.
Who would play you in a movie?
Who would play me in a movie? Who would play me? That's a great question. Who would play me in a movie?
I think Tabitha Brown would play me in a movie.
Who would play? That's a great question. Pass. I got to pass now.
All right. What's your superpower?
Bringing people together.
Most used emoji.
The double question. I mean, double exclamation point.
If you could have lunch with any person, dead or alive, who would it be?
Oh my goodness, Mike Jack forever. Michael Jackson forever.
What keeps you motivated on hard days?
My mother.
Hmm. Make me want to cry. One thing you want people to know about you.
Mm. I love my daughters to the moon and beyond, and would tear through a brick wall to see them succeed in life.
Oh. What legacy do you want to leave behind, I think?
I want to leave the knowledge that I've gained, the wisdom that I gained. The money is nothing. They can get their own money. The wisdom that I've gained in this world, I would love to pass that on.
Okay. All right. Final question. Complete this sentence. Success to me is.
Freedom, freedom, unequivocally. The I know there's a lot of controversy. There's a lot going on with the whole Diddy trial, but Diddy has been quoted as saying, "Pay for the things that give you time, that give you freedom, because freedom allows you to create." He said, "Freedom allows you to create time, money, friendships. Freedom. Yeah, give me freedom."
Can you repeat that?
He said, "Freedom gives you the." He said, "Freedom allows you to create time, money, and friendships. You can create time with freedom because time is a man-made construct. The universe does not the universe doesn't know what time is. Only we know what time is. Freedom allows you to create time, right? You again, you I don't care how you feel about him, you cannot deny that he has been able. It seemed like in the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s, he was everywhere. Kevin Hart, same thing. Steve Harvey, same thing. How is it possible that they can do all of the Nick Cannon? How can they do all of these things seemingly all at one? Beyonce, how can they do all of these things seemingly at one time? Because they have the freedom to create. Because they are not. They are paying for someone to drive them around and fly them around. They are paying for someone to cook their food. They are paying someone to take care of their clothing. So they have the freedom now to create time. Freedom.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to just a average person, which I'm not average, I'm
Oh,
extraordinary. That's the way the Lord made me. But if you want a relatable or your person that you could touch and feel, when I left the police department, um, I had more time. I mean, I had freedom. I wasn't punching a clock or staying on a clock once I got on their clock. And so it freed me up to sleep longer. It freed me up to get in the shower longer. It freed me up to be more thoughtful. And so that is a thing. And I love that. I got to remember to stay tapped into that. That is a frequency. Um, that is an energy that, we should get in alignment with. And as believers, we always talk about how we were supposed to be set free, but we ain't no close to freedom, or we're not creating the freedom that was afforded to us, right? And so, all right, because y'all know we could go again. We could this conversation could be extended. It could be the after hour, the
sure.
after party, the after conversation. But we for now we will stop there. Kevin, I don't know. I just like the guests to have the last word. I'm gonna give you the last word, and we'll end on that.
I can't thank you enough. I can't thank your audience enough. You guys have been absolutely wonderful for laying out the platform. Please tap into Terri. She is an incredible resource,
Hmm.
and the resource doesn't just come from her knowledge, her experience, and her expertise. It comes from her energy. It's her energy that you guys want to tap into. It's infectious, and it'll take you far beyond where you thought. It is boundless. It is boundless, so and limitless. So I just thank you for allowing me to tap into your energy, and I can't wait until next week to get some more.
Praise God. I'm listening to him like, Harpo, who he talking about? Well, he talking about me. You would think he was a paid spokesperson, but no, I thank you, brother. I'm grateful that we get to do this work together. And I believe as a result of us coming together and showing what it can look like, that more lives will be transformed financially. And so I'm excited to do this work with you. Thank you.
Until next time, guys. Thank you.